right, it is noon on a Sunday, and today's topic is going to be one that a lot of people ask about, a lot of people have questions about, and are interested in how do I care for my color treated hair? How do I take care of keeping bright color in my hair? Why does my color fade so quickly? And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to be having a few diagrams, and I'm also going to take a little tour over to use my brains, it'll come to me, our retail, to show some products that really work for what you need to take care of your hair as best you can to maintain your color for as long as you can. And it does depend on a variety of circumstances, a variety of situations, a variety of factors, but it can all, these tips can help you get to having the hair that you want. But first, I'd like to discuss the structure of hair, what it's made out of, why it does what it does. So I hope we can read it, because I wrote it all backwards. Did pretty good, except for missing the E and before. So the first thing to note is that on normal hair, the cuticular layer of the hair is very smooth. It looks kind of like tree bark or snake scales. It definitely lays over itself in overlapping pieces. So it would be overlapping all the way down the hair shaft, and it runs down the hair shaft. When you have colored your hair, thanks to the alkalinity of the color, your hair stands out, the cuticle stands out and has these gaps open into the center of the hair. It's useful for being able to push color molecules into the center of the hair. However, it does lead to potentially drying out the hair, making it feel stiff, making it feel like straw, and that is definitely something that people aren't fond of, but it's a natural consequence of using an alkaline hair color, which most current coloring products are alkaline, because they can open up the cuticle and get into the center of the hair and stay there. So this happens, and that's why sometimes your hair can feel rough. It's why it can feel a little more dry, a little more tangly. And in general, after color, even with the best care products, this isn't going to go back to this for about 48 hours. So if you have an open hair shaft in this way, having the cuticle layer open, and you've just freshly got your hair colored, and say within 12 to 24 hours you've gone ahead and washed your hair and maybe even blow dried it with a blow dryer, it's going to be pulling color out because this hasn't happened yet. It hasn't sealed back down. Excuse me, my apologies. Little something in the air. And this takes about 48 hours to calm down and smooth back out. I feel that it's best if you can avoid washing your hair or really manipulating your hair much in that 48 hours, which will help create some longevity to the color. There are other acidifying treatments that can be done to help with the process of resealing the cuticle, but it's definitely, in all things with hair color and taking care of your hair, less is more. Less washing, less heat, less manipulation, less exposure to the elements are all going to be beneficial to maintaining your color. So your natural hair pH, which stands for potential hydrogen, which I'm not going to go into, but you can look that up. The potential hydrogen scale runs from 0 being extremely acidic all the way up to 14 being extremely alkaline, with 7 in the middle as neutral, and that's usually what water sits at. Our hair sits between 4.5 and 5.5. So it is acidic naturally. The acids help keep your hair healthy, as much as I hate that word for hair, but it keeps the scalp free of fungus, free of bacteria as best it can by making an inhospitable environment. Also, the acidity helps keep your cuticle smooth and locked down. And naturally, you're going to fall within this range if you don't do anything extra to your hair. If your water is relatively neutral coming out in the shower, you will stay in a slightly acidic range of potential hydrogen. Now, most of your common hair color products meant for permanent coloring are between the 8 and 9 range of alkalinity. And the alkalinity is what helps open this cuticle, helps break down the melanin found in your hair to then allow other pigment molecules to come in and settle in the inside of the hair. If you don't do any actions to take this alkaline product back down to this acidic nature, your hair will stay more open. And the two types of melanin that you have naturally occurring in your hair are eumelanin, which is the black, dark brown colors, and pheomelanin, which are the yellows and oranges. And depending on the kind of hair that you have, they live in clustered groups, these little melanocytes that create your hair color. As it was explained to me at one point, imagine, I'm going to put this down for a second, imagine that your hair shaft, if you cut it, like long hair shaft, cut it down, and you're looking at the diameter of it, it's going to look like a chocolate chip cookie. And depending on the type of melanin, imagine a chocolate chip cookie with walnuts. That's a pretty good description of it. So the chocolate chips would be your eumelanin, the walnuts would be your pheomelanin. And depending on the distribution and amount of chocolate chips and walnuts, or eumelanin and pheomelanin, will determine how dark or light the hair is naturally and what tones you get with that darkness and lightness. And what happens with color is that the peroxide, hydrogen peroxide, once it gets into the diameter of the hair, it starts eating away first at the eumelanin, so the dark, the black, the dark brown, deep reds, and then slowly starts attacking and breaking apart the molecular structure of the pheomelanin as well. So as your hair goes from as dark as it is to as light as you want it, or as light as you need the base color to be, by removing the chocolate chips and the walnuts, you're taking away the structural integrity of the hair. So think about, like, if you had that cookie and you started carefully dissolving and removing the chocolate chips and then the walnuts, eventually that cookie's going to have so many holes in it that it won't stay a cookie and it will just fall apart. And that is a lot of times what happens when hair gets too light. And by too light, I'm speaking of you have processed it chemically to a point where it's nearly transparent, where it's almost totally fully white. And you'll notice that that hair doesn't have a lot of structural integrity. It's falling apart, it's turning into mush. When as a hairdresser we call it melting, because there's just nothing left for that hair to hold together. And you need some of that pigment, that melanin in there, so that the new color has something to hold on to. You only have to lift so much. It's a very interesting process where you find yourself, as you're going through the stages of decolorization, a lot of people will stop if they panic and they get to orange. They need to keep going, but you have to watch it so that you don't end up losing all of the structural integrity of the hair. It's just super important, or you lose the structural integrity of the hair, you're going to lose hair color. People will find that hair color won't stay because there's nothing for it to hold on to. There's various products that work to rebuild the structural integrity of the hair, whether it's a protein-based product to help put some of those amino acid chains in there and help that way, or there are others that work to reconnect and re-interlock the sulfide bonds, which are relatively weak in general, but they can help to give something for the hair to fill in those holes that have been left by removing or dissolving the eumelanin and the pheomelanin. And that's a starting point of what the hair color will do to the hair. So, quick review. Natural hair, smooth cuticle. After color, very rough, standing up cuticle will take about 48 hours to fully lay back down. The hair is naturally at a 4.5 to 5.5 pH, slightly acidic, to help keep the cuticle smooth and to keep the hair in as nice a state as possible. Hair color, pH is 8 to 9, very alkaline, and will cause this to happen. You can minimize by either switching to an acidic based color or using an acid, not acid like heavy duty battery acid, but an acidic rinse that will help take the pH balance of the hair closer to the 4.5 to 5.5 range. And then our two types of pigment in our hair are eumelanin, the black, dark brown, and the pheomelanin, which is yellow and orange. And mixed together will give you your natural hair color. Now on to some tips, tricks, things for maintaining your hair color. Now I have this little card, and it's not written backwards, so I do apologize. You'll never be able to read this. But I have this little card here at the shop, which gives tips and tricks for taking care of vivid hair color. But all of these tips and tricks are perfectly valid for any kind of hair color. There are a few extra components when it comes to blondes and keeping blondes toned, but we can cover that in a moment. So I have this, anybody coming in to, here, See if I can get it kind of close up. Anybody coming in to get a vivid type color done will get this card, which outlines care procedures and a few options for some products that help maintain the vivid colors or regular colors, and those I'm going to go over to the retail area at the end of this video to show you those products and why they're good for color treated hair. So the first thing that I have on this list is wash your hair as infrequently as possible. I would recommend no more than twice a week washing your hair. I'm not saying don't shower more than twice a week. I'm saying don't wash your hair. If you need to rinse it, that's fine. If you feel like you can't take a shower without getting your head wet, that's fine. But don't use shampoo more than twice a week if you can help it. Even if you can go to every other day washing. I know some people are worried that they're going to get greasy, they're going to get oily. And at first, you may discover that you're feeling extra greasy or oily or just kind of dirty. And that's because your hair needs your natural scalp oils. It keeps it supple, it keeps it shiny, it keeps it in good condition. And as your hair gets used to being washed every single day, your scalp is putting out enough oil to replenish every single day. Once it gets accustomed to utilizing an every other day washing schedule, every 3 days, every 4, if you're a real rock star and you really want to stretch it out, maybe you only wash your hair once a week. It depends on how much you can tolerate. And while you're dealing with washing, when you do, you want to use the coldest water you can tolerate. The warmer the water, the more it oxidizes the color. The more the color oxidizes, the more it fades. So the cooler, all the way into cold water that you can tolerate, the better it's going to be for your hair color. I don't practice what I preach. I will be honest. I wash my hair maybe twice a week, which is perfectly fine, but I still use hot water. The other part in the shampooing of hair, and this is why my hair doesn't fade very rapidly, besides the infrequency of washing, is that I only focus shampoo through my scalp. I don't pull it through the ends. That way, especially on the very ends of your hair where it's going to be the weakest, even just from being exposed to the elements. Jeez, I got hair sticking out everywhere. It doesn't need, unless you've been dragging your hair through mud or something, you don't really need to wash the ends. And with all of that, once you've shampooed the scalp, when you're rinsing your hair, it's going to rinse through. You'll probably be fine. The other thing is to deep condition once a week. I also have a product that is meant to help keep vivid colors vivid, and that one is it has a step in the middle to help lock in color. But deep conditioning once a week. If you're only washing once a week, deep conditioning every time you wash, or perhaps the night before you wash, putting a deep conditioner in, wrapping your hair in a towel, and sleeping in it, just to help fill in the gaps and help it feel a little softer, a little shinier, a little smoother, is a great way to help maintain that bright look. And if you're having issue with oil, if you're having issue with feeling greasy, in between. They make dry shampoo that will help absorb the oil and the sweat so you can get by for one more day. And that's a good way to transition into less frequent shampooing, is using a dry shampoo in the in-between at the roots, just to help give yourself a little lift and not to feel like you're overwhelmed by the amount of natural oils in your hair when it's adjusting to this new cycle. And then avoid heat. I've said already, like, the colder the water you can tolerate, the better. And it also means if you can go without blow drying, using a flat iron, using a curling iron, using heat, do it. If you are going to be using any sort of heated tool, keep your irons at 325 degrees Fahrenheit or less. Your hair will thank you. You don't need to crank it all the way up. Most people's hair can't tolerate it even in its natural state. And the thing with heat is that heat, as I just said, is an oxidizer. And what that means is that what makes iron rust is oxygen. And there's so many elements out in the world that are oxidizers. So it causes various chemical reactions which cause you to lose color. And those include your water. It sounds really funny, but it is. Water is an oxidizer because it is higher on the pH scale than the natural pH of your hair. Heat, definitely an oxidizer. The sun is an oxidizer. Going out to the pool is an oxidizer. Being out and about, your hair is oxidizing constantly. There are products out there that are antioxidant, which can help limit what happens, the oxidizing properties of so many things that can destroy your hair and your hair color. There's heat protectants. If you feel like you just can't go without the heat tools, there are heat protectants, things that will protect your hair up to 450 degrees. I would hope that you're not using that high of a temperature on color treated hair. This comes down to the care of color treated hair. Less is more. The less you do to it, the less you mess with it, the happier it's going to be. And you can't stop hair from fading, but you can certainly mitigate it to a certain degree. So you wash less often, you use less heat, you do less with it. And those are ways to keep your hair color as bright and vivid and fresh as possible. Now, blondes get a little different. Blondes, same things fall in that. Wash less, use cold water, don't put heat on it. But another thing that can happen with blondes is that if, say, you had a toner put on your blonde so that you weren't just natural lightened hair color, which generally tends towards yellow thanks to the pheomelanin still left in the hair. Most blondes will have some kind of toning done if they are wanting a cooler looking blonde, a softer blonde, a white blonde. In those cases, things that can discolor blondes besides losing toner is the minerals in your water. If you have lead in your water, your hair will get dark. It will start feeling muddy. It won't look super fresh or bright. If you have iron in your water, your hair will start turning brassy and it will look orange and it will start rusting. And I've had that happen to a few of my clients, that their natural water source in their shower had a lot of iron in it and their hair literally started turning orange, carroty, kind of rusty orange. If you have a bunch of calcium in the water, your hair will start looking dusty. Really, like, it'll just start looking weird. If you have copper in your water, your hair will start looking green, because copper oxide is green. And once your hair has been opened from a bleaching service, it's now open to accept any and all mineral elements that exist in your shower water. One way, if you are living someplace with extremely hard water, extremely mineralized water, is to invest in a filtered shower head, which is a really good way to keep your hair from getting that mineral buildup. If your hair feels like you've been in a swimming pool when you haven't, that's saying that you have some mineral buildup in your water. And that can definitely, it will affect all colors of hair, but blondes will get the worst of it. That's why they've created various products to battle hard water, to add tone to the hair. Purple shampoo is a very popular one because it can kind of counterbalance any of that yellowy, kind of orangey color that comes from the fading of toner, the accidental addition of minerals into your hair, and just environmental situations. If you're someplace where there's a heavy amount of pollution in the air, your hair will pick that up and hold it. If you are a smoker or live with a smoker, your hair is going to start picking up not only the fragrance, but especially the blondes will start turning yellow from the nicotine. It just happens. And so that's a way to help if it's a real issue and your water is really, really bad, is to get and invest in a filtered shower head so that your water doesn't have the mineral content coming in. You still have to realize that water at its natural pH of about 7 is still going to oxidize your hair. And that's where antioxidant products, hi Judy, antioxidant products such as Malibu C, which are based in vitamin C, ascorbic acid, are there to act as antioxidants so that you don't end up having as much of an issue with oxidation and watching your hair color just fade away. Because think of it kind of like oxidizers is like when you have a piece of construction paper in a window with a lot of sunlight on it, and when you finally pull it away after days, weeks, that side of the paper is much lighter. That's what oxidizing does to your hair, is that it starts just breaking apart the molecules so that they don't stay. And every time you use something that is more towards the, even though water's neutral, more towards the alkaline side of what your hair's natural pH is, it's going to reopen that cuticle layer that I was showing, reopen the cuticle layer and allow more color to escape, or allow the deposit of unwanted minerals in. It's kind of a tricky little thing. Trying to think if there's more to cover. I think I've covered most of the basics for maintaining hair color, and just knowing that if you're not willing to take a few steps of maintenance, that you're potentially going to either have to have your hair colored more often, or that some colors are just not going to be long lasting and may not be suitable for what you are wanting. So if you are somebody who can't go without washing your hair even for a day, or somebody who really feels they can't go without using the flat iron or the curling iron, then perhaps hair color isn't going to be your best choice. Or realizing that you're going to go through these stages of hair color where it's going to look bright and awesome for about a week, and then as time scoots on, it's just going to keep getting different. It's going to get smaller, it's going to be less bright, it's going to look faded, you're not going to get the color longevity that you're wanting out of it. So I'm going to now pull the camera off here and go over and see if I can't. All right, that's me. I'm going to see if I can't turn it around a little bit so I can just show some of the products used for maintaining color. So let me just see how this do. Oh, good. Here we are. So let's see. What is the first thing? I think the first thing that you want to do is look at your shampoo and conditioner. And this here, see if I can get a decent lighting here, is the Keep Me Vivid line that recently came out from Matrix. And so it includes your shampoo, your conditioner, and for in the shower, you have, I'm going to just grab this one, the laminating spray, color lamination. This goes on between your shampoo and your conditioner, and it is there so as to help lock down and lock in your hair color. And then we have the Color Velvetizer, which is a styling cream. They call it a shine glaze with UV filter, and that's exactly what it's meant for, is for creating a barrier between you and the sun so that you can keep that bright color and keep it less oxidized. If used and followed as a regimen, they are saying that it can keep your hair, as you can see here, vibrant for up to 65 days, depending on how often you are washing. And if you're using the whole system, it really helps keep your hair color fresh. Now, for those that are having some issue with their hair being a little less than strong, we have our Rebond rehab system. So you have, in this case, a shampoo, the strength pre-conditioner, and the conditioner. And all of these are meant not as conditioners in the traditional sense, but as a conditioner in the sense that it is building the strength back into your hair. And we also have Olaplex number 3, which is doing a similar thing to the Rebond system. It's meant to build the strength and structure back inside the hair, and not necessarily to make the outside of the hair anything super amazing. It's meant for the inside, for strength. And then from here, we also have the So Silver, which is the purple shampoo that is good for helping work against the yellow, gold, brassy tones of light blonde hair. And then with that, we also have the Color Obsessed conditioner, which is just meant to work in concert with any of your color care regimen conditioners. Then we also have, for darker tone hair, that still needs some toning to keep the cool look, there is the Brass Off shampoo and conditioner, and then their styling, conditioning, and smoothing cream for heat protection, sun protection, life protection, and they all smell fabulous. So this Brass Off, if you can't tell from the bottle, is a little more blue based, and it's meant for the darker blondes or caramels or colors that tend towards real brassy. And then we have for protection, and then also for in between, as you're learning about how to wash less frequently, the Miracle Extender Dry Shampoo is amazing. It works fantastically. It doesn't get real powdery. It just gets in there and just helps your hair feel a little fresh in between washes. And then our Miracle Creator is one of the best things to come along because it does all of the healing things. It helps smooth, it helps add strength, it adds shine, moisture, all the things that you might want just to help your hair feel a little bit more fresh. And then if you're somebody that really feels that they need to blow dry their hair daily, even though it's not highly recommended, I am so sorry about that, that the Flash Blow Dry Oil is wonderful. It's an aerosol spray that is a microfine oil that works to, one, hydrate the hair and help it feel amazing, but it also helps speed up the blow drying process so you don't have to have the heat on your hair as long. And then if you're also looking for extra moisture, we have the Oil Wonders Egyptian Hibiscus Color Carrying Oil, which helps once more to add UV protection, add moisture, add strength, and help it look as vibrant as possible. Is there anything else? Let me see. Probably, I do want to recommend the Air Dry Twisted Boho Curl Defining Cream, which is meant to be used, as it says on the packaging, as an air dry product so that you don't have to use heat. It's really best if you don't use heat at all, but if you must, getting like the Blonde Threesome, which has the heat protectant in it. The Miracle Creator also has a heat protectant. The Oil Wonders, also a bit of a heat protectant. There are many, many choices for those things. And is there anything else that I am missing? Turn it back around and probably scare the daylights out of myself. Hold on. Okay, there I am again. So that's a basic rundown of how to keep your hair as fresh as you can, how to keep your color as bright as you want it, how to keep your hair color in your hair for longer than a few weeks. I do hope this was informative. I hope that I answered any questions you might have had. If there are any more questions, please let me know, and I would love to answer and address any situations you might be dealing with in your hair color journey and your situation. I look forward to seeing you guys next week, noon on Sunday. Talk to you soon. Bye.